People don't usually vanish in silence. There's almost always something left behind: a phone, a shoe, a signal, a body. But scattered across the world, there are specific zones where that rule seems to break, places where experienced hikers disappear on clear days, where planes vanish mid-flight without distress calls, where search teams find nothing, not even a single clue to confirm what went wrong. These are not legends. They are real locations, mapped and documented, where people walked in and were never seen again. Tonight, we're entering those forbidden zones. Alaska is vast beyond comprehension. Endless forests, frozen rivers, mountain ranges that stretch for days without a single sign of civilization. Within this wilderness lies what many call the Alaska Triangle, an area defined not by borders, but by numbers. Over the decades, more than 20,000 people are estimated to have disappeared here. Hunters, pilots, soldiers, entire aircraft. One of the most chilling cases occurred in 1950 when a military transport plane carrying 44 people vanished during a routine flight. No distress call, no wreckage. Despite one of the largest search operations in U.S. history, nothing was ever recovered. Not metal, not bodies, not even debris frozen into the ice. The official explanation remains unknown. What makes Alaska especially disturbing is that many who vanish are experienced outdoorsmen. People trained to survive harsh conditions, people who know how to leave markers, signals, trails. Yet search teams repeatedly report the same thing: footprints that suddenly stop, campsites left untouched, radios found switched off, as if someone simply stepped out of reality. Thousands of kilometers south, another triangle exists, but this one is made of water. The Lake Michigan Triangle has swallowed ships since the 17th century. Massive cargo vessels vanished in calm conditions. Airplanes disappeared mid-route with no radio warnings. In some cases, crews were reported visually by nearby ships, moments before vanishing completely. In 1950, a passenger plane flew over the lake and was tracked normally until it wasn't. Witnesses on the shore watched its lights descend toward the water and then disappear. No crash sound, no wreckage. Years later, parts of the plane were discovered at the bottom of the lake, but the pattern of disappearance remained unexplained. Even more unsettling are reports from sailors who survived the triangle: compasses spinning without reason, sudden fog banks forming in seconds, time distortions, journeys that should take hours lasting minutes, or the opposite. Whether coincidence or something else, the lake continues to take victims, quietly, without warning. Further east, hidden among the forests of Vermont, lies a smaller but equally disturbing area: the Bennington Triangle. Between 1945 and 1950, 5 people disappeared within a short span of time. A hunter vanished during a trip he had done countless times before. A young college student disappeared while hiking with friends. She was only steps ahead of them. An elderly man walked out of his home and was never seen again. Search parties found no tracks, no signs of struggle. In one case, tracking dogs followed a scent only to stop abruptly, refusing to go further. Locals began to notice a pattern: disappearances clustered in the same stretch of land with no logical explanation. If you're still watching, it's because something feels wrong, because these places don't behave the way the world is supposed to, and what's coming next only gets darker. In the next part, we'll move north into Canada, along a road where travelers vanish one by one, and no one hears them scream. In northern British Columbia, there is a stretch of road officially called Highway 16. Locals call it something else entirely: the Highway of Tears. For decades, people, mostly women, have vanished along this isolated route. Some were hitchhiking, others were last seen walking short distances between towns. Many were never found. Those who were discovered hundreds of kilometers away, deep in forests where no one should have been able to reach unnoticed. What makes this zone especially disturbing is its simplicity. There are no mountains swallowing people whole, no oceans beneath them, just a long, quiet road cutting through endless wilderness. Yet witnesses consistently report the same pattern: people seen entering vehicles that were never identified, or simply disappearing between 2 known points, as if the space between them erased what passed through. Search operations uncovered almost nothing. No consistent suspect, no clear timeline, no physical trail. Entire years pass without answers, while the disappearances quietly continue. Even today, travelers are warned not to stop here alone after dark. Across the Atlantic, another zone exists, one that predates modern investigations by centuries. The Dyatlov Pass, located in the Ural Mountains of Russia, became infamous in 1959 when 9 experienced hikers vanished during an expedition. Weeks later, search teams found their tent ripped open from the inside. Shoes, coats, and supplies were left behind in sub-zero temperatures. Footprints led away from the campsite, barefoot, and then vanished into the snow. The bodies were found scattered miles apart. Some had fatal internal injuries without external wounds. Others showed signs of radiation exposure. One victim was missing her tongue. Official explanations ranged from avalanches to hypothermia, but none fully explained the evidence. Decades later, the area still carries a reputation for making people disappear or return changed. Far to the south, another wilderness hides its secrets beneath heat instead of ice. In Australia, the vast outback has claimed explorers, tourists, and entire vehicles. Planes have flown over coordinates where people were last seen, only to find nothing but endless red land. In some cases, abandoned cars were discovered with fuel still inside, doors unlocked, and no footprints leading away. One of the strangest cases involved a man who left his vehicle to walk a short distance for help. He was never found. Search teams combed the area extensively, yet reported no tracks, no signs of dehydration, no remains. It was as if he vanished into thin air, despite the environment being harsh enough to preserve evidence. What links these zones isn't geography, it's behavior. Electronics fail, compasses lose direction. Witnesses report time distortion, memory gaps, and an overwhelming sense of being watched. Survivors often describe the same feeling, a sudden urge to leave, panic without cause, or the sensation that something unseen is guiding them. Before we move on, let me ask you this. If disappearances followed no pattern, we could dismiss them as coincidence. But what if these places share something we don't understand yet? If you're enjoying this deep dive into real-world mysteries, now is the moment to support the channel. Subscribe, leave a like, and tell us in the comments which location disturbed you the most so far. It helps more than you think, and it ensures we can keep uncovering stories like these. Because the next zone isn't remote wilderness. It's a forest sitting right next to civilization, where people vanish in plain sight. Just outside major cities, hidden behind familiar roads and weekend trails, there are forests where people disappear without warning, even when others are nearby. One of the most infamous is the Aokigahara forest in Japan. Known globally for its reputation, what is less discussed are the disappearances that don't fit the narrative. Experienced hikers vanish on marked paths, tourists step a few meters off trail and are never recovered. Search teams routinely find personal belongings neatly arranged, as if deliberately left behind, yet no trace of the person who owned them. Compasses malfunction here, GPS devices lose signal, sound behaves strangely, footsteps vanish, voices feel distant, and many who enter describe an oppressive silence that seems to press inward. Locals believe the forest doesn't simply hide people, it absorbs them. Across the ocean in the United States, a similar pattern emerges in national parks. For decades, unexplained disappearances have occurred in parks like Yosemite, Mount Shasta, and the Great Smoky Mountains. Children vanish while standing just meters from their parents. Elderly hikers are found miles away in terrain they could not physically reach. Weather changes suddenly, disrupting searches. In many cases, tracking dogs lose scent instantly, not gradually but abruptly, as if the person was lifted from the ground. Some of those found alive report memory loss. Others describe seeing figures watching them from a distance. A few say they felt compelled to follow something, a sound, a shape, a presence, before realizing they were completely lost. Mount Shasta, in particular, has become a focal point for disappearances tied to strange reports. Lights seen moving through the trees, electronic equipment shutting down, people claiming to lose hours of time without explanation. Official reports often cite exposure or disorientation, yet many cases defy those explanations entirely. Then there are the seas. In the North Atlantic lies an area where ships vanish under clear skies, the Bermuda Triangle. Entire crews disappeared without distress signals. Planes lost contact mid-flight. In some recovered vessels, food remained on tables, cargo untouched, and lifeboats unused. No sign of struggle, no indication of panic. While skeptics attribute these events to storms or navigation errors, the consistency is unsettling. Compasses failing, sudden fog walls, radio silence, pilots reporting strange lights before communication cuts off permanently. What ties all these zones together isn't folklore, it's the lack of evidence. Disappearances that leave no physical trail, no logical sequence, no closure. And perhaps the most disturbing part is that these places are still active. People continue to go missing. New cases quietly added to old files. Search operations end not because answers are found, but because there's nothing left to search. Which leads to the final question. Are these zones dangerous because of where they are, or because of what happens when people enter them? In the final part, we'll confront the theories and the possibility that some places on Earth simply do not want us there. When authorities can't explain disappearances, theories begin to fill the silence. Some point to environmental causes, sudden sinkholes, extreme weather shifts, animal attacks, or human error. But these explanations often collapse under scrutiny. They don't explain footprints that stop mid-step. They don't explain experienced pilots vanishing in perfect conditions. They don't explain why search dogs refuse to continue or why electronic devices fail simultaneously in specific locations. Others suggest something more unsettling, that these zones exist where the normal rules of reality don't fully apply. There are researchers who believe these areas may sit on electromagnetic anomalies, regions where Earth's magnetic field behaves erratically, disrupting navigation, perception, and even human cognition. In lab conditions, similar fields have been shown to induce panic, hallucinations, and time distortion. If such effects occur naturally and unpredictably, they could push people into fatal decisions without them ever realizing it. Then there are the theories that don't fit neatly into reports or data. Some believe these zones act as gateways and places where something intersects with our world briefly and selectively, a momentary overlap, a tear, not wide enough for buildings or vehicles, but enough for a person to step through and never return. Others believe the disappearances are not accidents at all, but patterns of observation, that something is studying movement, behavior, isolation, that people vanish not randomly but when certain conditions align, distance from others, environmental silence, reduced visibility. What's undeniable is this. These zones don't stop existing just because we name them. They remain open, active, indifferent. New disappearances are reported every year, not always publicized, not always investigated deeply. Many are quietly written off as misadventure, even when evidence suggests otherwise. Families are left with unanswered questions, coordinates instead of graves, memories instead of bodies. And maybe that's the most terrifying part. If a place can erase a person without violence, without sound, without a trace, how many times has it already happened without anyone noticing? Right now, somewhere in the world, someone is stepping into one of these zones. They don't feel fear. They don't feel watched. They believe they'll be back soon. Most people who vanished believed the same thing. If this video made you think twice about the places we take for granted, make sure you're subscribed. More stories like this are coming. Real cases, real locations, and mysteries that refuse to stay buried. Leave a comment telling us which theory you believe, or if you think the truth is something even darker. Because the scariest thing about forbidden zones isn't what we imagine might be there. It's what we already know has happened, and what might happen again.